Hey everyone, and welcome back to another video. Today we're going to be talking about Configuration Manager clients and the firewall rules that we need to change in order to actually push out the clients. So, a little bit about clients. What do clients actually do? They collect hardware specifications on the devices they're installed, installed applications and usage, services running, available software updates, local user accounts and login, logout timestamps, security status information, and a bunch of other really useful things for Configuration Manager. But by default, the lab that we've set up isn't actually going to allow you to push out the clients. So we're going to make a couple of changes to allow that to happen. And just real quick in my lab here, on my Configuration Manager server, we can see that there aren't active clients on my actual workstation. So client 127, there will be a green check mark if everything is good. We don't see anything. So let's minimize Configuration Manager. Let's open up the DC and let's make some group policy changes. So the two big things that we need to change is we need to allow printer sharing, so which is going to be called file and printer sharing service. It's not just printers, as well as Windows Management Instrumentation, so WMI. So we're going to launch group policy managements. We're going to create some inbound and outbound rules. So we're going to find our domain, which is the lab is going to be corp.contosa.com. We can right click it, create a GPO in this domain and link it here because we want it to be active right away. And we're going to call it config manager client push. Required settings. Firewall rules. That sounds a little bit better. You just want to make sure that you understand that this group policy set is for the Configuration Manager client. And we're not going to select a starter GPO. So now when we drop that out, we can see the Config Manager client push required firewall rules. It's a really long name, but I know exactly what it's for. It's there. And we're going to make some edits. So right click edit, you can make this full screen, and then we're going to go to computer configuration, and then policies, Windows settings, security settings, and then this is going to be under Windows Defender Firewall with advanced security. So on the left, let's make this a little bit bigger so we can see. There's the drop down, and we're going to first create an inbound rule, so inbound traffic. Right click, new rule. We're going to select a predefined rule, which is really easy because everything's already kind of set for you, and it's just going to be called file and printer sharing. Click next. We're going to leave all of these checked because we don't want to limit anything. This will also enable ping, so if you need to ping a device, we can do that, ICMP. Next, and then we're going to allow the connection. Cool, so our inbound rule is now created. We can see the rule right here. We're going to add some more rules because there's a few we need. Let's create an outbound rule for the same. So outbound rules, right click, new rule. Just like last time, predefined, file and printer sharing. Next. I'm going to leave them all. I want in and out. And we're going to allow the connection. Click finish. Now we've got our inbound rules, outbound rules for file and printer sharing. And now we're going to create some inbound, outbound rules for WMI or Windows Management Instrumentation. So let's go back to inbound rule, right click, new rule. This one's also predefined, which makes it really easy. We'll go to WMI, Windows Management Instrumentation. Next. Leave them all checked. Click next. Allow the connection. That one's good. And we're going to do the same for outbound. So, new rule again, predefined, file and printer sharing. Outbounds. Oh, whoops. Sorry, I'm a noob. We already did that. WMI. There we go. Cool. It's checked. Allow the connection. Click finish. Perfect. WMI. File and printer sharing. File and printer sharing. WMI. Pretty easy. And then we're gonna make a couple of firewall changes for our SQL ports, just because we also need these to use all of the functionality. So we're gonna create a couple of group policies, group policy rules to open TCP ports 1433 and 4022. So let's go back. We're going to close out of this. We're going to create a new rule in this domain. We're going to call it SQL ports for ConfigMgr. And it's going to not have a starter rule. So click OK. Let's edit this, and we're going to go to the same location. So you can click down like this, or you can go on the left. Windows settings, security settings. Make this a little bit bigger, and then Windows Defender Firewall with advanced security. Drop down. We're going to create an inbound rule. So new rule, and we're going to do a specific port, which is going to be TCP port 1433. So port, and then next, TCP, it's already checked, and then specify local ports 1433. Allow the connection. We're going to leave them all checked, and we're just gonna get super creative and call it TCP in 1433. And then we're also going to do TCP port 4022. So it's the same set of steps. It's just a different port number. So port, TCP, already checked, and then 4022. Allow the connection, leave them all checked. TCP in 4022. And then next, finish. Now if we look at our inbound rules, we can see TCP in 4022, 1433. Awesome. So we should have everything we need to actually deploy the clients. Cool. So let's go back to CM1. Actually, let's go run a group policy update on our clients first, so they actually get the changes pulled down. So I'm going to log in with the domain account, which is going to be lab admin for you as well, if you're in a lab using the Microsoft Office Lab Deployment Kit. And then while this is loading, we're also going to launch this guy. Whoops. And then client 7. Cool, this is already logged in. So the way you do a group policy update, most of you probably already know, but you can just launch command prompt, gp update, group policy update, and then / force. Press enter. It'll start updating the policy for you. We're going to do that on each of our clients here. So client 1, client 2, and client 7. Client 2. Nice, we can see the policy update has completed successfully. And then I'm actually going to show you a quick little trick that you can use to actually verify what was pulled down during the group policy update. So what you'll want to do is type in rsop.msc and hit enter. It'll launch the resultant set of policies. It'll take a second to load. You don't really need to do this on every one, but it's good to know that this exists. So now if we look at our extra registry settings here, so administrator templates, extra registry settings, we can make this full screen, but we can see everything we pushed out. So configuration manager client push required firewall rules, that's what I named mine. And then the SQL ports for config manager, so it's all right here. We can see that it successfully pushed down. So that looks awesome. Now that we've updated all of these, I thought I updated this one. We're going to go over to our configuration manager server again, so CM1. And we're actually going to, there's a few different ways that you can do the installation for the configuration manager client. But in the lab, after we made these changes, just because I want to manually do it quickly, what we're going to do is we're going to just right click, install client, click next. I like to check always install the client software. It's not installed, so it doesn't matter. But our lab is small, so I'm not really worried about it. It doesn't matter. We're just gonna, let's just leave these unchecked. It's not gonna make any difference. So it'll default to the site that the machines are assigned to, or you can specify a site. So we only have one site by default. It's built into the lab, so you can click next again. It'll say the task, install configuration manager client wizard, completed successfully. So we can close out of that. We'll do the same for 2 and 7. Again, it doesn't matter, we don't have any clients installed yet, so it's not required. And then if we go to one of the machines here, let's go to client 1. Make this full screen so it's a little bit easier to see. Open Task Manager. Let's go to details. So we can see that the CCM setup is running, which is exactly what we want to see. So this is the Configuration Manager client installation. Nice, and we can tell that the Configuration Manager client setup has completed because we no longer see the setup .exe, we see the ccmxe.exe. So that means the installation has completed. So now, like, if we go to control panel and we go to system and security, we see Configuration Manager listed. And we won't see that without the client. If you open it, you can see some information about the client here. So we signed management point, so CM1, the certificate, co-management capabilities. But the important part is that it's installed, so. Whoops. Let's minimize that and go back to Configuration Manager server, and let's refresh. It'll take a little while to reflect in Configuration Manager, but what we should see next to these icons is a green check mark. But we know the installations have completed, so that's awesome. See, we're seeing a question mark, and in just a second, this should switch over to green check marks. Nice. So we can see that it's already starting to update. But yeah, it'll take a little while for all of them to update here, but it looks good. This is how you make it so that you can actually install the clients after you've set up your lab. It's just a couple of firewall changes. But if you have any questions at all, feel free to leave a comment or reach out on Twitter, however you want to ask. Always willing to help. But thanks, guys. Have a good one.